Hello, and welcome to Royale Without Cheese, our bi-weekly podcast in which we discuss both the classic and the unknown of art and popular cinema from the then and now. We are your hosts, me, Leonardo Miranda, Miguel Aido,
Hello.
and Tomás Ferreira.
Hey.
Today we talk about Night of the Living Dead, but before any ados, don't forget to subscribe, leave a comment, or simply give us a like. Night of the Living Dead is a 1968 American horror film directed by George Andrew Romero. The story follows 7 people trapped in a farmhouse in rural Pennsylvania under assault by hungry zombies. Using guerrilla filmmaking techniques to complete the film on a low budget, Romero premiered this famous horror landmark, earning more than 250 times its budget, making it one of the most profitable film productions of all time. It has garnered a cult following and become one of the most influential films of all time. However, this voyage between the land of the living and the dead, right through Zombieland Avenue, actually surprised RWC. Fellas, what do we think? Are you feeling hungry for flesh?
I think this
Jesus
film
Christ.
is kind of.
What?
Wait. Where's he going with this?
I'm not sure, actually. I'm not sure what I think about the film. Because I don't really enjoy this campy zombies.
I agree.
Because the thing is, the film was pretty much a landmark in how you portray zombies, which I recognize. So it's
Yeah.
kind of hard to really be fair because it all comes from his approach and the way we see zombies in this film that we hadn't before. And so, okay, sure. But I mean, if we try to be objective looking at the film now, it just annoys me a bit that they're so slow and they're so clearly actors. And there's a
Yes.
campiness around them that takes a bit of the tension, if not a lot of the tension from the scenes. I'm a bit on the fence because I really enjoyed the directing. I think it's a beautiful film. The black and white really works.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it just misses on that side, and then one actor is a terrible actor as well, which we all know who he is.
Yeah, we know.
Which
I
one?
think we know.
I don't know.
The
I don't
little
think we know.
guy.
Tommy boy, Tom guy, the wooden
Yeah,
fella,
the
the
little
guy
guy
who gets
who,
burned.
who gets burned.
That guy. That's very, I guess. I didn't actually
He
think
was
it
like,
was
"We
bad
need to go
or
to the
anything.
boiler. We need to do that."
No, I just thought he was stupid. Like, I thought that was like the character. It's so the bad acting was kind of that. But yeah, no, I get it. I see
I
that.
also really disliked Barbara. I gotta say, Barbara's annoying. Burn Barbara.
Okay, but she's in
Yeah,
shock.
she does her role.
I get it.
She does what she has to do. I mean, I think I like the film more than you guys, but yeah, I also have my problems with it. Mainly, just like it's annoying when characters are stupid and do stupid things, and you're like, why are you doing these stupid things? And when it's a film like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, it's more of acceptable because the characters aren't necessarily in survival mode. They're not like we're in danger. They're
Yes.
just stupid teenagers. They see a room full of things that are clearly dangerous, but let's go in. They go in. In a film like this, they're in survival mode. They know that there's danger out there, and they're actively trying to survive. And then they do stupid shit like he has a torch and leaves the torch right next to the truck when they're pumping gas out. It's like,
Yes,
man,
I
what are you
laughed my
doing?
ass out when that happened. I
was
laughed
like,
my
come
ass
on,
out. I clapped.
you deserve
I
to
was like,
die.
oh my god.
You
Yeah.
idiot.
I thought this is so stupid.
Yeah,
I
'cause
laughed my
it doesn't
ass
feel
out.
like a character decision. It feels like the writer putting something to create a moment of adversity. It doesn't feel like something that the characters in that moment would do, especially
And coming
Dwayne,
from the more
who's the
intelligent
smartest guy of all.
character,
Yeah, exactly.
exactly.
It's
True.
so it really annoyed me that moment. And there's other things like the whole discussion with do we stay up here in the house or go into the shed? It feels very again, it could just be the characters being stupid and having a conflict that is dumb, but it feels fabricated too. It feels like the two things can coexist. Sometimes you can go to the shed and you can also be here upstairs. Like it's the same place. Why are you arguing about this? But yeah, those things.
No,
kind
but
of
I can
annoy me.
understand that one. You see, I actually
Yeah.
understand that one. You know, when you put yourself in a box and the only entrance and exit is that one door, that's complicated. So I understood the pressure on that
No,
moment.
like I get that. I don't get why the guy wanted so bad to stay there down there.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
why,
sure, yeah.
like
You know what? I
if the
think it's a matter
danger,
of personality. He's just a
yeah,
jackass
I guess so.
who
It's
likes to
just like
bust
if the
around.
danger does come, you can just go in there anyway. Like it's not like
Yeah.
if you stay up here, like you have no choice to go back down. It's like no, you can. You just go.
Especially
Yeah, I
when you
understood it
see
has a
that.
character flaw.
Yeah. I was a bit like on the. It's probably a flaw of the character, but it also feels like a stupid flaw to have in a moment like that. But yeah, I get it.
Yeah, for me, it kind of diffused a bit when we saw that the boarding up of the basement was just something that you could just take out, because I thought they meant like a nailing down the door. And so I thought, okay, yeah, if it's nailing down the door, it's kind of a, an important moment, and
Yeah,
they
a
can't
decision
sort
that
of
has to be
undo
made.
it.
Yeah.
But I mean, literally taking a piece of wood, I mean, it's okay. They can just do it whenever they need to, and it's not that complicated.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
because of that, I did think it was a little, afterwards in hindsight, that was a little extreme.
But yeah, picking up on what you said, Miguel, I felt the same about the movie largely regarding, in terms of its directing, I really like the low angles and the Dutch angles, the distorted kind of shots that that are used on the film, particularly much too because camera equipment and as well as sound equipment was becoming very mobile in the 60s. That's what led a lot to a lot of freedoms with the documentaries that came out around that era, and that really helps or benefits the movie that we have here presented to us. It creates a groundedness to it, a sense of urgency that is very interesting. And oddly enough, I saw connections or mirroring things with a later movie, one that we have reviewed already, Texas Chainsaw, for example, with the use of like the TV broadcast stuff, with them accompanying the real life events of what is going on in the country with these zombified corpses coming out and eating people. That's interesting as a sense of reality to the film and whatnot. I think in black and white films, particularly, the way that shadows and light is used to produce these very eerie scenarios can be very interesting because you can have a lot of unjustified lighting. And once Barbara, she enters that farmhouse. It's interesting because there's so much light in there, creating odd shadows that just simply doesn't make sense. If you look at it, what is this coming, creating these harsh shadows? But it is interesting in the atmosphere that it serves. So we have all of that in one bag. Okay, the directing, cool. But then you have a lot of the actors being wooden, and it doesn't quite sell for me. And the music as well is so over dramatic that I just feel it's silly and camp. I think it really contributes to that camp effect that just doesn't rub off on me. I don't like it. When she enters in the car and the one zombie that she meets at the cemetery, the very beginning, that is kind of abrupt. That it starts very fast, and she goes to the car. There's no waiting for the apocalypse. No slow burn eerie beginning.
I joined that bit.
I would like more something that eased me in it, that made me I don't want that. But anyway, I wanted that because I wasn't really clinging myself to any of the relationships on screen quite fairly, because here you have a protagonist, one of the main ones, Barbara, and the main leading man, the Ben, the black man in the house. And he's very interesting. He's assertive. He has a plan. He's interesting, but she is just so annoying. I get the shell shock. Probably we would be one of the people who get shell shocked too if we saw our sister or brother dying in front of us. Okay, fine. But it's very hard to adapt or to cling on a character like that. It's just very boring. The first half hour of the movie is just relentlessly boring to me. And she goes to the car, and the zombie gets in there, and he's like,
no, it's not that boring. I mean,
and I was, and she's acting
it's not
scared,
relentless.
And I'm like, I can't believe this. And the car is slowly moving as she gets free from the zombie, and I'm like, okay. And then she gets into the house. The house, when she gets into the house, because of the lighting effects that are in the house, okay, it's a little bit eerie what goes on in here. She finds that body upstairs. That's interesting. And then Ben comes in. I like their little interaction. But because it's so poor, the production design has, not the production design, but the production value, then you have things like the sound doesn't have a lot of quality. You hear the echo in the house. So you don't have a lot of stuff covering the echo. You would use perhaps, isolation methods to make not there be a lot of reverberation. That doesn't happen. So
not just sound recording the actual design, the sounds that they use to mimic certain
like
you know,
punches.
bodily reactions and punches,
Uh-huh.
the eating of the
That's
guts.
true.
It's all
That's true.
very bland and it doesn't really
Yeah,
feel
The
authentic.
yeah,
blood
and
dripping is like
it
sounds like a guy
it
doing.
just kind of
Yeah, I thought about that exactly. Yeah.
it's kind of tacky to me, and that was the word I had for it at times. Just tacky, seeing these guys acting, and I couldn't cling on any people. I didn't sympathize with. I didn't really cared for anyone. And just the leading man I really liked, and I thought it was interesting in a Jim Crow era, the 1960s. Suddenly, this guy, in the context of America, not that it bothers to me, but in the context of America of the time, having this leading man who is this black guy, and that is the assertive one, he knows what to do. That's pretty cool and interesting, and he fights off everybody who tells him no, stupidly so. And I'm underlining the main guy who had the stupid opinion of we need to be at the basement. That is interesting. That was one of the things in the movie that I thought, oh, that's new. That's kind of unpredictable at that time for this to be happening, and I thought it was interesting.
And he has a very
Um,
strong put down where he says like, "I'm sorry your daughter is such a stupid father," or something.
Yeah.
yeah, that's true.
Damn, man.
And then there's the other thing that there's a sense of urgency in the film, much because of the sound effects are not so good and the soundscape is not that well worked because of the production value. Is that whenever they're talking about the logistics, it's a movie much about logistics of how we're going to operate in this small room against the evil outside. What are we going to do? Get the nails on the doors, get the nails on the windows, do this, do that, let's cut a little bit of wood here, let's put a little bit of fire. They don't like fire, to discuss all these proceedings, the logistics of it, like a production team inside, organizing how they fight off the evil outside. And it's just kind of, where's the urgency, man? I don't feel there's a lot of urgency. The ending, once it escalates, amazing. But before that, I'm just kind of, it's just,
But I think all of these things that you're saying come from the campiness of the zombies and the fact that they remove so much tension because everything else gets permeated by that. The actors seem campier, the scenes seem campier, everything seems like it means less, it has less impact.
But I don't think it's just the campiness of the zombies as they act up. It's the fact that when you are inside and they are talking, we don't hear the outside noises. It's just
Okay, yeah, that's
normal
different.
buzz from a fridge or the echoes. And I'm like, this is very insipid.
Sure, yeah, that's
Tasteless.
different.
Like,
But I think part of the reason why you don't feel the urgency is because before you haven't felt tension from the zombies, and so you really don't feel like there's much urgency anyway.
that's true. Exactly.
I mean, I don't agree with you guys there.
Oh my god.
Okay. The belt is
I
off.
do-
The belt is off.
No, but here it's
Enlighten us.
just it's purely subjective. I don't know. I find their human quality, the fact that they don't seem like the regular zombies, like the already deformed, already fully like flesh eating types. The fact that it's just normal people who are relentless in trying to get in. For me, there's something scary about that.
Okay.
I find that like weird. You're just people. You're weird
Yes.
guys, and you're trying to get in and like leave me alone. It's just humans, but they're trying to bite you and eat your flesh. I don't know. I find that very strange, and it's the low budget of the film. I get that it can
But I
put
mean,
you off.
I agree because I do think that's scary as well. And I wish I could connect more with it in that matter and really see that, fully realized. But to me, there are just some things that they do, and in some scenes specifically, that just then drain it completely if I had any. And like some zombies get shot and they go with their hands to their face. Like, I mean, what are you doing? They get
But I
shot
think
from
I think
behind and
that's
they put
part
their
of
hands to their face.
that's part of the direction. I think it's just that we are so like we now have a much different understanding of zombies. Like to us, that type of representation of zombies
Definitely. I
seems
think that
weird
is at
because
play.
they do react very humanly to certain things. Like there's guys who get shot and they're like they get like fire on them and they start like trying to put the fire out. There's a very human quality to them that in zombies nowadays we don't really get. They're much more just animals with human bodies, but they're fully transitioned into something else. Whereas these ones feel like they're more in a limbo of between human and just flesh-eating monster. Which I think I liked seeing it. As far as zombies go, there's certainly modern films that portray them in a much more scary way. But I liked it and I thought it worked for me.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with everything you said. It's just that if you don't fully separate from the idea of human, then you also run the risk of it not being scary. And I think part of the problem sometimes it's that it's just they seem in fact too human, and
Yeah, it seems like the actors,
even in terms of the makeup and everything, yeah, they just look like normal people.
To me, the campiness of the zombies is only a small factor. To me, much more of a factor that to me there's no sense of urgency is really the soundscape that just is very poor to me, and the actors themselves. And the characters themselves, I'm not fully invested in these relationships. Now, one thing that is always interesting and comes back in cycles to the thematics of these monster movies, whether it be werewolf, zombies, body horror like The Fly, and it's kind of this vicious cycle that feeds upon itself because it's also interesting and hence creating what we call cliches, is the idea that in these monster movies, our greatest enemy is of course our human emotions, fear, and our animal instincts, our animal emotions, us becoming a monster, us becoming a zombified thing, or not so much vampires, but a werewolf, becoming less than human,
Vampires get a pass.
They got a pass. Because that doesn't happen so much with vampires. It happens much more when they become feral, like precisely like Leo said, much more like in modern times. The zombies are portrayed in an animal way, like with Cronenberg's The Fly, or even with The Thing, more or less. But werewolves and zombies, because they are people who we once loved, and in this film in particular, we have an example with the daughter of the couple, the Hooper couple, becoming a zombie. It's difficult to kill them, and that is a very compelling situation when we see that. It's very effective because we as a viewer are like, would I do that if I was confronted with that? Like, what would you do, when that question arises? So that's probably this is one of the first films to do such a thing, to pose such a question. And then when we don't have, that scenario coming into the film, like a loved one becoming zombified, what do? Do I kill the Fly? Do I kill Jeff Goldblum, my lover? Do I kill the Wolfman, who I've met? It's a very conflicted situation. When you don't have that, you have the scenario amongst the victims, where the character flaws clearly come amongst the characters. And in this situation specifically, you have Ben against Mr. Hooper, or whatever his name is, with the situation between the basement or not. And that to you, Leo, might have been something that was kind of a sore thorn, didn't quite play with. I thought that was one of the most interesting moments, where different characters, because of their flaws, one is the boss, but he has virtues down that alley. He's assertive, he knows what to do, he has the plan, he has the solutions. One is just the boss superficially, he just likes to boss people around, but he's empty, he's a coward, and ultimately what comes from that is then you finding out when he goes to the basement and he reunites with his wife, is that his wife also kind of notes how that is a flaw. He has nothing to show for, and oh yeah, right, you want always to be right, and that adds something to the different textures of the different characters, which there isn't so much in the other characters. You have Tom, his girlfriend, he's just wooden. Barbara is just like this cactus thing, lying down there in shock. So the only ones that have something to offer in terms of butting heads, tension, and differing kind of flaws are Ben and this kind of Hooper fella that then he kills. Like, that's the ultimate thing, is that the victims kill the victims, like even the humans, the one that are pure, the one that kind of trying to get away from all the mayhem and the chaos and the evil, even them kill themselves, because ultimately they can't work each other, and it's live or get killed, so he has to kill him in order to operate. And the ending, the way the ending kind of operates, amping it up, tension after tension, and the stakes with the daughter eventually becoming a zombie and killing her mother, eating her father, that's devastating, and it's really something that, and it becomes all the more tragic when Ben actually dies amongst them all. The zombies, like one of the zombies. I only wish there was more of that urgency before, I don't feel it so much. It just feels like people looking at the TV and room tone silence of poor quality and them talking. I don't feel it. It's just weird. It's something that I wouldn't bother. For example, in a Cassavetes film, the focus there is the drama and people relating with each other, so I don't mind the lower production value. But here, where it's supposed to be horror and the tension with the outside constraints, I don't feel the outside pressuring on them. You see that, it's just like, it just seems we are living in between two worlds. It's only when they kind of peek outside, oh, I'm reminded that there's this evil outside, but the evil is so slow, which I get it, it's the very nature of being a zombie, that I don't know, I kind of forget about whatever is outside every time we are inside again.
Yeah, no, I get it. I mean, it's It's a bit campy. Yeah.
I guess it's not that I felt urgency throughout the film. It's just that it didn't bother me that it wasn't super urgent, because it's the nature of the zombie. It's like, and the lights are all on, so you know that they're not in super danger, because the zombies are not gonna try to go in because they're, like repelled by light in general. They just kind of
Oh yeah.
hang around. I mean, that's the whole thing with fire. It's the lights, right? I think
Oh,
that's
yeah?
the way I interpreted it.
Yeah,
I mean,
Oh, no, I
that's
didn't
what the
think that.
character says.
definitely. Yeah, that's definitely.
No, I
It's
thought
even-
fire get fire you get burned. Fire is the
when they're in the
primordial
car,
element
he's
of
pointing the
weaponry.
torch. He's pointing the torch to them, and they're like.
I didn't think
getting
it was
away.
light. I think it's
was
the
light.
fear.
I'm
Oh,
pretty
yeah?
sure it
Man,
was
I always
like he
interpreted
sets the
fire as the
couch
thing
on
that kind
fire.
of-
I mean, yeah, maybe it's just the fire, but I interpret
because
it as
fire
the light,
kills
especially
werewolves,
because when
fire
the lights go down in the final act,
Okay.
that's when the zombies start, pouring in
Fair
and
enough.
trying to
Okay,
get
fine,
in.
fine.
So,
Okay.
sorry, I won this round.
It wasn't even a question of winning or
yeah, I
not
know,
winning.
I
It was
know,
just
I know. I'm
trying to
kidding.
justify how I saw it.
Yeah,
normally
no,
fire,
that makes sense because they mostly only do it through fire. So yeah, it makes sense that.
But
you
isn't
think
that a bit the vampires with the sun? Because
with
But that's different. You see, the vampires with the sun is like the bats. They sleep during the day. They during the night they are out, preying
no,
on
but
the
I mean, what I'm
on
trying
rats.
to say is by that logic, if they can't even go into this house because of the lights, I mean, when it gets to daytime, they should be like overwhelmed by these lights and do nothing.
Talking about zombies, right?
Yes, yes. No,
but
I'm
zombies,
trying to
I
say
never
that I think it's the
associated-
fire as well because if the lights them just alone provoke this reaction, when it gets to daytime, it should be overwhelming to them. I think.
Yeah, that I did think about that and how
Ah, that's true.
that would make
That is true.
sense, but I don't know. But that's just the way I interpret it because I don't know. And like, yeah, it's probably just a fire. That's
Like
probably
fire-
I think it's
It-
fire, but like on a heightened level because it's not just sort of the normal fear of fire that every animal and human being has. Because as Spence
especially
pointed out,
because you
they
see
throw
them
the couch and they even from a distance they stand aside, so it's like a hyper alertness to fire.
in the car. They start breaking the headlights because of the lights. So that's where my mind
Right.
went.
Well, it's
They
interesting.
just don't like light.
To me,
And
fire
again,
is
and
like
then
the
the final act.
primordial
Yeah.
weapon from the ancient, times that man has used. That has some kind of a mythical thing, When they used to kill werewolves, they killed a thing with it. Kurt Russell uses it. It's like if bullets don't do it, fire just decomposes the fucking body, and it's that's the idea to me at least. Yeah. I mean, any other thoughts about Night of the Living Dead?
I think we did a nice little trilogy of the American psyche with Seconds, then Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Particularly in
now-
the 60s, kind of thing, that
the
transition.
transition
yeah,
from the
that's true.
60s
Yeah,
to the
yeah.
70s with Vietnam.
50s,
and
60s,
all
70s,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, I think there's there's a lot here in the realm of the ideas of the film that I think compensates for everything else, especially when towards the end that posse is formed and you see how they just like they just become like zombies themselves. They just their goal is to go kill whatever. They're given permission to kill. They're given guns and that's all they do. They don't even check if the people that they're killing, if there's any way to salvage them or if they're even human. They just kill. And I think
I
that's
completely
ultimately
forgot about that aspect. Yeah.
yeah, because it comes very
that's
late
true.
and feels very integral for me to the ideas of the film, especially on relating to American society around this time. Everyone around you could be a bloodthirsty person who wants to kill someone else. Literal, but I think it's more metaphorical also in the sense of how many people initially were supportive of like the Vietnam War, for example. I think the film speaks to that fear of everyone around you becoming bloodthirsty and lustful for blood and to not see the humanity in others. I think that's really the strength of the film and one of the things that I like the most. It's not just a random zombies are scary, it's has more to say. I think then probably the franchise and the other zombie films became more about the zombie themselves, like as a beast, as a monster. I think the film here is operating more in allegorical terms, especially regarding what I said earlier with the zombies not being quite monsters, being sort of still having lots of human qualities, and you can't quite see the monstrosity. Especially in the first scene, they think it's just a guy, and then he just keeps going after her. So yeah, I think that's for me what made the film.
It's almost like saying that they're just slightly different, but even then they are enemies. So it's like talking about culture in America, and the whole thing at the end. It's that whole shoot first, talk later.
Yeah, exactly. That's all for today. If you'd like to reach out and suggest a film for the next episode, you can find us on the podcast official Instagram and website pages. Feel free to subscribe, share this episode, or simply give us a like. That's how our podcast can grow ever more groovy. And if you're on YouTube and want to see more videos like this, check out this next video right here. Thanks for listening, and see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Adios.
Bye bye.